Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short gospel talks from Mark's Gospel. And today we're in chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. Now, news travels fast. In this modern age, very fast. You don't even need to have a news team there. You don't need to have a camera crew. Someone can phone something on a mobile phone, shove it on the internet, and it's around the world in seconds. And although it didn't travel quite as fast in the ancient world, when people start talking, people start to get in the know. And here we have an encounter with someone who's in the know. He's heard something about Jesus. But the encounter tells us as much about Jesus as it does him. We read that Jesus is at Jericho and they're leaving the city. And there's a blind man named Bartimaeus sitting by the roadside begging. Now, he hears it's Jesus, and the first thing that he does is he starts shouting out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Two things to note that are interesting here. Firstly, he asks for mercy. He realizes that Jesus is a great person. You always ask for mercy from someone who's greater than you, after all. And secondly, he calls him Son of David. Now, quite what he understood by that phrase, we're not sure. But it was a phrase that the Jews used when they talked about the Messiah. So he clearly sort of has heard something of what Jesus had been teaching. And maybe he's drawing one or two conclusions. And he isn't put off. He keeps going. At verse 48, many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Well, when someone's making a noise like that, obviously people are going to hear. So Jesus stops and says, "Call him to me." Well, the crowd say to him, they've stopped trying to discourage him now. They actually tell him to cheer up. And actually the translation we have here, which is, as I said, cheer up, it actually means take courage. Well, he comes to Jesus and Jesus asks him a question. It might seem a fairly obvious one, but it's one that allows him to state what he wants. Verse 51, "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." And Jesus says, "Go, your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Now here's the interesting thing. What's the conclusion after all this? I mean, Jesus healed some people and they didn't come back. Well, he follows. Whatever he thought, whatever he understood by asking for mercy and calling Jesus the Son of David, well, he actually puts his actions where his mouth is, doesn't he? He does what he has said. This is someone worth following. Rather interestingly, the Old Testament prophet Isaiah actually writes about similar things. In Isaiah 4 and 5, it says this, "Say to those who are with fearful hearts, be strong, do not fear. Your Lord God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution. He will come to save you. Then will the eyes of the blind be open and the ears of the deaf unstopped." Now, we've seen this before. Jesus is fulfilling Old Testament prophecy. Here's the great thing. How does that promise start? Well, it starts like this in verses 1 and 2. "The deserts and parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocuses, it will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God." You see, this is what we see in Jesus. We see God coming to his people. And the wonderful thing we can see in Bartimaeus, this blind man who is healed, is when we have faith to cry out to him, We're given the option to follow him. Now, he's not a dictator. He doesn't say you will follow. Bartimaeus followed of his own free will because he's discovered someone worth following. He discovered God's Messiah. He discovered God coming to his people. And that's what we see when we encounter Jesus in the scriptures, even a short passage like this. Well, if you want to follow in Mark's Gospel and you can't find a Bible around the house, do feel free. There's some on the railings at the front of the church. You can take one from there in the holders. And there's another one for our troubled times. Where is God when things go wrong? Both are free. And if you can't get to the railings or Stony Stratford, my phone number's on this link. You take care now. Thank you for listening.